both are different. So JavaScript is a client-side object-based scripting language. We can say JavaScript is a client-side and object-based, and it's a scripting language. Okay, these are the three important terms you need to understand. And what is Java? As we already know, Java is an object-oriented programming language. We have class concept, we have object concept, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding, message passing, and all these kinds of object-oriented features will be there. Then in the JavaScript, basically we say it as a client-side object-based and scripting language. And basically we use JavaScript to validate the client data. What do you mean by validation? Okay, so let's say that we have two fields which represents a username and password field, and there is a submit button. Okay, and whenever the user is providing the username and password and clicking on the submit button, the intention is to open a web page. But here the user is not entering any username and password. Instead of that, he is providing empty fields and he is trying to click on the submit button. Then what should happen? Like, it should throw the error, right? So whatever error is thrown on the web page, that comes from the JavaScript. And also, like, we can say that if you want to make your web pages more dynamic, let's say if you want to create your web pages with a dynamic behavior, okay, with a dynamic behavior, then we can say you can use JavaScript. And it is very responsive to events like the movement of mouse. Let's say if you are moving the mouse on the web page, what should happen? And if you click on a button, then what should happen? And using JavaScript, you can achieve all those things and you can improve the user experience. So JavaScript, formerly known as LiveScript, earlier name of JavaScript was LiveScript. So it's an old name for JavaScript, right? And now, so it is basically developed. Who developed JavaScript? It was basically developed by Netscape and Sun Microsystems. It is also known as ECMA script. So ECMA script, right? And then it is also known as ECMA script, and it was standardized by like European Computer Manufacturers Association. ECMA stands for European Computer Manufacturers Association. And basically now we have the latest ES6, ES7, ES8, ES9, ES10, and the most recent ECMA ECMAScript 2020 is also there. So although you should update like yourself with all the new features of this ECMAScript 6 and all these changes and whatever we are going to learn in these sessions. So basically we will learn about the old plain JavaScript, and then we will jump into the new ES6 features, which will really help you to learn any JavaScript based frameworks, like you can say React JS, and we have Angular JS, and also we use some arrow functions concept, and we use different functionalities in JavaScript. So those are all advanced features. Okay, we'll discuss about all those things. So we in the first session, like, we will discuss about what is a JavaScript. And as I told you, JavaScript is a client-side object-based scripting language that is used to handle and validate the client-side data, right? And we can say there are so many standards are given by ECMA script, and that according to that standards we need to write the JavaScript programs. And it is an interpreted language, which means the script, whatever written inside JavaScript, is processed line by line. You know the difference, right? Like the difference between an interpreter and a compiler. A compiler is a program that compiles your source program into machine oriented language, right? And whereas at a time it will be done, but whereas in the interpreter it will be done line by line. And although this is so basically JavaScript interpreter. So JavaScript interpreter is a built-in component of the web browser nowadays. In the Chrome, you can see when you write any JavaScript by using the Chrome, in the Chrome console, we can simply type the program and we can get the output because of the V8 engine in the Chrome. And also Node.js. Also now just-in-time compilation is also used for JavaScript. So Chrome V8 engine. So this is responsible to execute all your JavaScript programs inside the browser. So JavaScript is also platform independent, which means you need to write the script once and you can run it on any platform or browser without affecting the output of the script. So basically when you write any script, that will be run on any machine. So JavaScript, basically if you use the JavaScript on the browser, so browsers will use their own JavaScript engines to execute all your JavaScript code. So like your Chrome browser, Edge browser, like for example Chrome will use V8 engine as I told you, and the Firefox will use a engine called SpiderMonkey. Okay. And also we have the Edge, right? Edge browser will use the Chakra core engine. Okay, Chakra core is the engine, that is JavaScript engine for executing your Java programs. And Safari browser uses Squirrelfish engine. And Apple Safari, right? So Safari will use Squirrelfish engine. So these are the types of JavaScript engines on the browser. Okay, right. So now if you're a beginner, like let's say if you are learning your web application development or web development, then first you need to learn the HTML and then CSS, and then it will be very easy for you to understand JavaScript. So HTML, as I told you, it's basically a building block that can be used to develop web pages, which can use hyperlinks, images, tables, forms, etc. Like then comes CSS. So what is the purpose of CSS? Like if you want to apply any styles to the HTML elements to make them look good or beautiful, like CSS is a standard for providing styling to your HTML elements. And these days no website is created without them. Believe me, no website is created without them. So every website will have these common things: HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So let me show you one simple example. Okay, just I want to open let's say just I want to open Pinterest site. Okay, so now if I click on Pinterest, just right click on the Pinterest, inspect, click on the inspect button, or just right click on it and view page source. You can see HTML, right? So HTML, head tag, meta tag and everything will be there. Okay, so without HTML you can't imagine any web page. So all the web pages will be created using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Nowadays people are using for rich internet applications and for single page applications, people are using React.js framework, Vue.js, Ember.js kind of things. Okay, we'll discuss all those things in later sections. So now coming to JavaScript features. So what are the features of JavaScript? So basically if somebody asks you about what are the features of JavaScript, then you can say it's a lightweight. Lightweight means not much resources, computer system resources are required to run the JavaScript, and it's an object based. And also you can say it's a functional programming, like you can do functional kind of applications, and it's a platform independent. Okay, independent. And you can say it's a prototype based. So what do you mean by all these things? We will see what is a prototype based, and all those things we will discuss in the coming sessions. And also JavaScript is asynchronous nowadays. Like what is asynchronous features? We will discuss all these things. Asynchronous. Okay, right. So lightweight means what? JavaScript is a lightweight scripting language because it is made up for handling the data at the browser level only. So since it is not a general purpose language, so it has a limited set of libraries, and it will not take much of resources of your system. Not much RAM or so much memory is not required for executing your JavaScript applications because everything runs on the browser. And dynamic typed means what? Like support set, which means you have to define the type of the variable or defined based on the stored value. Let's say I'm creating x is equal to some Sitaram or str is equal to Sitaram. So now based upon the type of the value, the JavaScript interpreter will treat the str as a string. So this is also called as dynamic typing. So dynamic typing, so we can say JavaScript is a dynamic typed language. This is one of the another feature. So dynamic typed. And also object based language. So JavaScript is an object based scripting language because it will provide all the built-in objects like string, math, document, window, date. All these are different objects, and it's a functional style. Basically we can say JavaScript is following nowadays a functional approach. Like even objects are created from the, like we have a constructor concept, like we can create objects, we can create a unique object type by using the constructors, and all those things we can do. And it's a platform independent because JavaScript is platform independent, or we can say it is portable, which simply means that you can simply write the JavaScript once and it can run anywhere and anytime. So in general you can write your JavaScript applications and run them on any platform or any browser without affecting the output of the script. Okay, so these are the different features. And asynchronous is a very important feature because JavaScript can be used to do complex processing asynchronously. Synchronously is one after the other. Asynchronous means parallelly, which means that the whole page will not have to wait for the JavaScript processing, and once the script processing completes, we can easily modify the HTML code to show or hide the data. So, and also we can use JavaScript to send asynchronous HTTP requests to the server. For server side processing also we can use JavaScript nowadays. Okay, so these are all the features of JavaScript. In the next session we will use JavaScript for writing more programs. Like we will use the JavaScript for understanding how we can declare the variables and what are the different data types that are available in JavaScript, and all the stuff we will learn in the next session. Thank you.